I believe do whatever you're doing and do it so well that you inspire people to want to do what you're doing.
Do you aspire for a booming middle-class economy? Listen along to understand what turns the wheels of Uganda's economy with our line of incredible influencers in their fields.
Welcome yet to another exciting episode of the podcast on marketing, where we bring to you Uganda's best marketers, communicators of big brands, sharing their expertise so we can learn a thing or two from them. So today we have Miss President. I will always call her President because she was once the president of the Uganda Marketers Association. Miss Sharon Kiggundu. She's now the head of marketing and corporate communications at Kabojja International School. We feel like her experience as the former president, her role in marketing, banking, insurance, communications, all this will go a long way for this discussion today. So welcome to the podcast, Sharon. Is this your first podcast?
Yes, it is.
Wonderful. It's such an honor to have you because you're such a busy person, but the fact that you made time for this. So I think to start us off from your dynamic and demanding role, especially in the education sector, you talked about the importance of work-life balance. I wonder if we were to start, why do you think this is very important in really high demanding jobs?
First and foremost, thank you for inviting me. Eventually, I said I need to make time for this because a long time ago or along the way, people have been kind enough to share their experiences with me. Those have pretty much shaped a couple of things I do or the direction I take because they show you that some things are possible, some things are not doable, some things it's all about mindset. Basically, for me, I'm doing this for the people who came before me, the people who we continue to consult as we try to be better human beings and also as we try to make an impact in the world and particularly in the profession of marketing and communications. So the reason why the topic of work-life balance is because in recent years, I've probably hit rock bottom. And I came from a phase of thinking about one person to thinking about three other human beings. I would wake up in the morning previously, and it's a thing of I have to go to work. I have my networking, I have my girls, I have my friends, I have a few mentees, and then I'm thrown into another phase of life. And then I have to make ends meet, of course, with a job. And I just felt at some point it was very overwhelming. So I just went on the low for most of the things. I would not take any appointments. Picking phone calls became a myth for me. If I'm at work, I'm at work. When I get home, I don't want to pick the phone call. So it must be something really urgent. And in the past 1 year, it got me thinking a lot about work-life balance. How do we try to have it all? I have a friend, she's maybe 28 now. By then she was like 23. I'm like, it's possible for you to have it all. And of recent, I'm thinking, is it really possible? Can we balance? Can we have it all? And some days it's hard. Other days you sail through. So it got me to that point of, can we really balance work and life? Is it possible? In this podcast, I'll speak about my personal experience. What have I been able to maneuver? What things have I introduced in my life to make sure that I'm able to? It doesn't mean that it can work for everyone, but I'm sure somewhere, somehow, someone can say, let me try to do this.
So Sharon, I think it would be nice to give us a primer into your career journey. So there's a young marketer, a young listener out there who's probably thinking, is this possible? Do I have to study marketing? Do I have to be already somewhere to get into the lines that Sharon has walked? Where did it start for you? How did you get into marketing?
I say marketing chose me. My journey during university internship, it threw me at a place. And in that place, the coolest people were the sales and marketing people. Somehow I liked doing that. For me, it was a thing of, I think I like events. I like being out there. It was an opener for me. Fast forward, I landed into insurance, which was the work was relationship management or account management, and it involved a lot of meeting with people, of course, putting fires out. It's nice to put a fire out, but before it burns, you don't think it's possible to put it out. I ended up in banking after insurance, and then I ended up in banking for over 5-6 years. grow through the ranks. And then I moved towards the education sector, which I've really found to be very exciting. Marketing as a profession involves different aspects, and you need to choose which aspect you're really good at. I've been thrown into roles where you're the brand manager, you're the communications, you're the PR, you're the digital, you're the salesperson, you are the stakeholder manager, you're basically doing all those things, and that comes with an advantage. However, along the way, I discovered that I'm more of a marketing and salesperson than I am a communications person. So to the someone listening out there, for me, it is, if you're very lucky to have mentors, because that is very key, people you look up to, and when things seem a little bit hazy, just pick up a phone call and have a conversation. It puts things into perspective. If you're lucky when you're very young to take on as many roles as you can, people who are out of campus are roughly 23. If between 23 and 30, you're able to do as much as you can, by 30, you've pretty much cleared up what you want to do. Do you want to be a communications person? Do you want to be a salesperson? And I believe do whatever you're doing and do it so well that you inspire people to want to do what you're doing. When I landed into the education sector, which is largely PR, communications, and stakeholder management events, I realized I'm probably more of a sales and marketing person. I like numbers. I like putting figures to whatever I'm doing, because then for me, that's a measure of success alongside everything else. So to anyone out there who is trying to say, it's marketing, I'm doing sales, how do you do as much as you can when you're younger, so that by 30, you have a clear aspect of what you enjoy doing, not what you've been told to do, but what you enjoy doing. Then that will give you perspective into the kind of sectors you want to work for, the kind of jobs you want to work for. It is okay to dream, to say, I want an international job, and these are the organizations that will probably give me those opportunities. So pretty much that is me.
That's a wonderful journey. Earlier on, you spoke about how before it was just you, then you had 3 human beings come along the way. To me, it sounded like in that particular moment, you were choosing to prioritize in that phase. And then I also had someone mention on a podcast that work-life balance is such a myth. There's prioritizing things in that given time, the ones that are most needed for you to be able to move on to the next step.
Wait a minute. Do you know what it will take for Uganda to achieve a middle-class economy by 2040? Please send us an email at onuganda@gmail.com.
Balancing such high-level responsibilities, I can't imagine one being the president and then also having different roles in your life. And when we reached out to you, we normally ask our guests, what do you prefer speaking about? And work-life balance was your best choice of topic. So I can see how from your high-level responsibilities and also excelling at your role, like you just told us now, you then knew that you were good at sales and marketing, not others. In that moment, what kind of struggles do you think you grapple with to having to choose which priority over the other? And how best can we approach if someone was challenged with that situation?
It's been a lot of emotional struggles, but I think the desire to be there for everything, what they call the fear of missing out, was what I actually grappled with. I'm used to doing this. Why can't I be able to do it? You want to be everywhere. There is an Ignite session. You honestly want to see people because you barely see people. Then there is a family event. Then, of course, you have little humans who need attention. Then you have the home. Then you have all these responsibilities at work. I think my biggest struggle was the fear of missing out. And it took me a whole year to realize that I can't be there for everyone. I can't be there for everything. And that led me to the priority list. In this phase, if you ask me what is my priority, it is my family. If anything goes over and above that, I would be lying to you. So I would make sure that the first priority for me comes first. Then any other time will come. Of course, we have work 8 to 5. But I didn't have a problem taking work home and say, let me finish this. And then you realize you're struggling, you're having all these panic attacks, you're having the anxiety. Then at some point you wake up and you say, enough is enough. If I can't make it for the Ignite, it is okay. You come to terms, and that was the moment of realization that it is okay. I don't have to be there. I will follow everything, whatever is happening online. I'll probably catch up with the people later on.
I find myself missing out on so many events. Today, for example, we have recordings even on a Friday night, yet most events happen then Friday night, Thursday night. But sometimes I think this is what I chose to do then. But some things have to give.
Yes, some things have to give. You look at your 1 week, and I feel like the 24 hours is not enough. But then you have to try and make the 24 hours. If you come from a busy body, and all of a sudden you have got to slow down, anyone who tells you it's doable, you can do it, that person is lying to you, because honestly speaking, there are things I could not do. The issues of people calling and say, let me call you back. And it's so sad because, but then you need to stop feeling guilty about not being there for people. You need to be there for people from an emotional aspect. But when it comes to certain like events, you need to just learn how to say no. And when I learned how to say no and not feel guilty about it, I think I started sleeping better. The guilt went away from trying to please everyone. Everyone at some point has to go through those struggles. You just need to know that I'm actually going through it, and you acknowledge and ask for help. I need it. Give it to me in 1 hour. 1 hour passes, 2 hours, I make a reminder. After that, I will get onto the report. So I learned also how to say, I'm a different human being. I work differently. And that made me appreciate my team even better, to say these tasks, I can give them to the person they want. So I'm a more do-it-yourself person. But then I realized that the do-it-yourself was not giving me that balance. You end up doing everything. And when you do everything, you're stretched, you're tired, you're exhausted. So the struggles are there, and we need to learn and appreciate when the struggles come, and learn how to acknowledge them and then move past them.
Wonderful. Sharon, you've been in this game for so long. I wonder what trends you've noticed along the way that you've actually taken seriously.
I've seen marketers moving from one sector to another. I've seen marketers moving within the same sectors, and probably that is it's easier. It's a trend to move from one sector, though from within the same sector, probably doing the same role. And from a career point, I have one role. If I work for a sector, I do not work for it again, regardless, because I believe I will be able to grow. If I work for another sector, the dynamics are very different. You meet different people, so then you're able to grow your networks. The other trend that I'm really finding very exciting, I think everyone talks about it, but I'm going to speak about it in terms of human beings. I like how the Gen Zs are able to say no to when things are very stressful. I know we are considering them very lazy, very intolerant, but I think they're doing what we failed to do. So you'll find a Gen Z has worked for, in a gap of 2 years, they've probably worked for 5 companies. They are very good at what they do. I like the fact that they're very creative. I think right now, if a 38-year-old wants to do a digital marketing job, unless otherwise, I don't think we are cut at that particular age bracket. No, I think it's meant for the young people. They spend most of their time actually taking in a lot more information. That is for their own consumption. But I will listen to, let's say, podcasts. Tomorrow, I listen to a YouTube channel. For them, they are able to go to TikTok and pick out exactly what suits them and what they are able to actually apply. Yet, a lot of us are picking on information that really is not relevant for us. So if you ask me right now, from a career point, the Gen Z need to keep doing what they're doing, because then we will create healthier workspaces. And also the way they consume information, they will only consume what they need to use. So for every marketing person, I understand the need, but I don't think we really need to know everything. Choose what you need that is very helpful within your line of work, and then be able to apply that.
Sharon, I can tell you're already biased because you work with the young people, but I personally love working with young people. They're very agile, they're very flexible. We also had a guest on the podcast who told us no is a complete sentence. So yesterday I met a lady who I declined an offer to work with, and she was so offended the way she said it yesterday. She told the other person I was speaking to, she's like, "Oh yeah, are you Aggie? Oh, a while ago you told us we were too broke for you." And I thought, okay, the way she brought it up was a bit offensive, but I'm glad I actually did, because sometimes you just need to say no, and I'm glad you bring it up. So the Gen Zs, I think, are better at standing their grounds than we are. Now, knowing what you know, because I feel like just looking at your LinkedIn profile, you have such fantastic advice, but then you're also taking care of yourself. You're able to fuel your success with the fact that you're passionate about professional growth, personal fulfillment. What keeps you motivated? Sometimes you've had challenging moments in your career path, but you have kept going. You have taken on some of the biggest roles in our profession, and you're still going at it. What drives you?
The desire to know more, but the desire also to be better. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with one of our people, and so I was telling her that I feel like, okay, I'm getting some time off my hands, and I've always wanted to join Rotary. And the reason why I didn't join the Rotary was I just felt I did not have time. And when I get in there, I've had my friends who are previous presidents say you need to have the time, you need to have the dedication. So I told her, no, I told her when I joined Rotary, my goal is to become a district governor. And she said, wow, wait a second. So I told her, because I don't know how to do certain things and not do them to the completion of what is the most you can do out of something. And that brings me to jobs. The goal, not everyone's goal is to be a CEO, or not everyone's goal is to be a head of marketing. But I look at the path where I am and I ask, what is the most I can be? And that is the most I can give. Every time I find myself stuck, I can't see anything bigger than where I am. That is time to move. At that point, for me, that is time to move, to say, let's go and make impact elsewhere. So it's the desire to know more, the desire to be something greater than I am at that particular point. And I will tell you, oftentimes you want to give up. You want to give up. You're like, can't I just be an average human being? And then you realize that, honestly, you don't want to be average. There is, you're born, you live, and you die. Then there is, you're born, you live, you make impact, and you die. I don't want to be born, live whatever many years, even if it's 100, and die. You want to pave a way for someone else who can dream. If someone else can dream because of you, I think that is enough for me to go on. And that is why over a period of time, I'll take on 1 or 2 mentees. My journey is not perfect. And we don't do it for the glam. It's for someone else to give you a phone call and say, I'm stuck. What would Sharon do? For me, that is enough. To see someone become something simply because you held their hand, that is why I keep praying.
That should become my mantra. If someone can be because you are. That's wonderful to hear, Sharon. Now I can imagine you've been at the highest leadership in our profession. What kind of opportunities do you see in our industry that say if there's opportunity for investment, or even just marketers, young innovators who probably can solve around the challenges we are facing, what would they be?
Like you say, my bias right now is based on my experience with working with the young people. When we are young, we dream. I honestly don't know what happens when we grow older. I think life kind of jumbles us up and we stop dreaming of the things that we wanted to do. I've seen young people where I am or my interactions with them, and the child is telling you, this is what I want to do. And you're like, is that possible? It's like, no, it's possible. It's somewhere. And then they end up going to find the perfect university for them. And then they are studying to be that something. So Uganda is untapped. I don't think even all of us have been able to fully exploit our potential to what it's supposed to be. I was reading something about how tourists come into this country and they honestly take their money back. So you're asking yourself, what would someone, that gap enough is enough for someone with the entrepreneurial spirit and the resources, which I believe is one of the greatest hiccups that Ugandans are facing, the resources to be able to execute the ideas. So you ask yourself, if tourists are coming and they're going back with their money, what other experiences are they looking for in Uganda that I can actually invest the money in? Of course, a lot depends on other sectors like infrastructure, the health sector. I ask myself, if we were availed with the resources and the environment, I believe Ugandans are some of the smartest people. We have such smart people who are out there impacting knowledge. I've seen fellow marketers tutoring at UMI, at Datamine, at MAT, and you're like, wow, people actually have the knowledge. How about education tourism? People coming here, people are moving out to study. Why can't people come in? When we're studying, I think St. Lawrence was half of Tanzanians, Kenyans, Rwandans, they were all coming in here. Medical tourism, our doctors are flying out there. So in terms of tourism, if these two can actually be exploited, like I say, it zeroes down to resources. If you have the resources, I'm very sure these can actually work out for you. I think one of the thriving sectors is private healthcare, where people are able to set up hospitals. The private schools are doing very well. The private universities are doing very well. I believe those two are still untapped for potentials for us as from a marketing aspect. And remember, when people come in, people spend money. If people are studying here, let's say people come to Makerere from other countries to study law, to study medicine, to study business. Their hostel people are making money. The ecosystem kind of replicates itself. So there is more money coming in, which means more money for the locals. So I believe we have a lot of untapped, but it's as a result of lack of resources.
Yeah. And if you were to change one thing about those opportunities you just mentioned, what would it be? If you had the power, the authority, the resources, what would you change?
I think I have one saying, everything starts and ends with leadership. You cannot tell me you're a bad leader and you have good people. Let me say, it will trickle down to your people. If I had the authority, for me, it would be to change the leadership and train people, expose them to the opportunities. Look at Dubai, 40 years down the road. It's amazing to see what leadership can do for different sectors. So that's the one thing I would change.
We have this one question we ask every guest that comes onto the podcast on Uganda, and it's about achieving a middle-class economy. Now, I wonder, Miss President, in your capacity, what do you think it will take for Uganda to achieve a middle-class economy by 2040?
My rudimentary answer would be export all of us out and bring us new citizens.
Really?
I'm still export all of us out and bring in new citizens. I'm going to go back to why I say the leadership. Basic things, we've gotten used to things getting done a particular way. That even if you want to change particular things, it's going to take us a long time, and that is culture. If we are able to change the culture of how we think, of how we do things, maybe certain things can change. But then all that stems from leadership of different sectors and what they bring to the table. Politicians are pushed out of the decision-making process, and we leave the technocrats. I believe the technocrats will be able to deliver us to the middle-class economy, infrastructure development, the roads where the food comes from into the city, the cost of fuel, it's costing a farmer so much money to bring in food. It means the food is going to be expensive. Your disposable income reduces because of the number of things that you actually have to spend on. If the national insurance scheme works, it means we are spending less money on private medical, but instead we're using the government. If the government is able to equip and retain, now this is where it becomes very key. The brain drain is the number one thing that I would actually stop, because a lot of our expats, a lot of people are choosing to go to the greener pastures. Uganda has one of the cheapest labor forces in the world. It's cheap, but it's another thing. If people are paid well, then they're able to afford a better quality life. So I would stop the brain drain and keep the good people here to make that impact.
Beautifully put, Ms. President. Thank you so much for your time.
To the people that are listening, I encourage you to keep dreaming. Living in Uganda is hard enough, but dreams are valid depending on how much effort you put into them. Keep the networks come in handy at any one point of time. Put yourself out there and let people know what you do, and just keep dreaming, because one day the dreams will be validated.
If you act on them. Thank you so much, Sharon. I couldn't thank you any better for sparing time to speak to our patriots. Where can we follow up with you? I know you're on LinkedIn. Where else would you want to send people who are interested to follow up on something you mentioned?
On this conversation, it's pretty much LinkedIn and Twitter.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much, Sharon, again. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Aggie, for having me.
Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening in this far. I really hope that this conversation was helpful to you. Share this episode with your colleagues or friends that you think will benefit from this information. Let them know what you're listening to. Would you also rate our podcast? Because once you rate our podcast, other people like you are able to listen to this information and use it to their own benefit. On a lighter note, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. We would really like to hear your thoughts.